How many of you think it's time for you to stop spinning your wheels?
Yes.
Okay? I kind of call this the hamster syndrome, right? I mean, the problem with being a hamster is you get a lot of exercise, right? But you're not really going anywhere. And how many of you feel like your life has been like that? Kind of like a rocking horse. I mean, this is a lot of movement, a lot of activity, but are you actually getting anywhere? And that's the question that I kind of want to frame for you here tonight. Because your life is not a rehearsal. Did you know that? How many of you have ever been to a rehearsal before? Back in the day, I used to be a bit of a professional singer, and I would rehearse, do you know? Because if you don't rehearse, you're going to suck, right? And so how many of you don't want to suck, right? So you got to rehearse. You know, back in the day, I was in some high school plays, and so what do you got to do? You got to rehearse. Why? Because this is the practice time, so that when it's show time, I can get it right. Well, do you know your life? It's not rehearsal. Like, I hate to break it to you, like, this is not this rehearsal that lasts 80, 90 years. I mean, this is the real deal. You've got one life to live, right? This is it. Right? You're not going to go, oh, I kind of screwed that up. Like your life is the most precious gift that you have. And I love what Ella said. I'm grateful because I'm not dead. And how many of you are with her on that, right? Some wisdom from the 25-year-old, 14-year-old. How old are you, by the way?
13.
Okay, 13. All right. You know, I mean, how many of you think that's just wisdom, right? And so I want to help you get out of this spinning your wheels thing. And the question that I want to kind of ask you tonight is, do you know which people in the world have the biggest impact and make the greatest income? Now let's just talk about that for just a moment, because I don't know about you, I don't just want to have impact, but no income, okay? I also don't want to have income, but without impact. I mean, you know, what would be the point of making a bunch of money? And some of you, you're in a place in your life, you're like, oh my God, all I want is money, right? Because you feel so broke. And you think that somehow money is going to solve anything for you. I hate to break it to you. You get more money, you just have more problems. Legit. I've been broke. I've had nothing. And I have lots now. And so money doesn't solve anything. As a matter of fact, money amplifies the current reality of your life, whatever it is. And so, you know, some of you are like, oh, I just money, right? It's like, just cash. I just need cash, right? Give me cash, right? And you're going to find, you're going to get that. Because if you work hard, you learn some skills, you'll get some cash. Sure you will. Absolutely. Making money is easy. But having impact, how many of you know that's what we're really talking about? Yeah. On the other hand, some of you in this room, you've got impact, all right? You know, you're reaching people, you're making a difference. People like your videos, they comment on your posts, and it's nice and special, but you're not making income. And so how many think we need to do both?
That's true.
Right? I just want to have impact and, you know, ask my wife to pay the mortgage every month. Right? Hey, look at me, everybody. It's great. I have all this impact and no money. Right? On the other hand, I don't just want to have income and no impact. So how do we kind of fuse those things together? How do you have the biggest impact and the biggest outcome? And I'm just going to give you 6 little things here tonight that are going to help you in terms of having the biggest impact and the biggest income. The first thing you have got to do if you're going to have impact and income is you got to take a what?
Step.
Come on now, you got to take a step. There is something about taking a step, right? Moving forward. This is one of the slides that I often use. You need to take out your phone and take a picture of this. You need to print that picture and staple it on somebody's forehead. Do you know what I mean? Not yours. You need to put it beside the mirror in your bathroom, because some of you are hoping for the magic to happen here, right? Where I'm comfortable, where everything is good, where I'm supported, where I know everybody's name. I remember that show, Cheers. And if you guys remember that show, Cheers, then now I know how old you are, right? We all want to go where everybody knows your name, right? And we kind of have this fantasy world where we just want to get around the people that we know all the time and be around the places where we're comfortable. And as painful as it is to be uncomfortable, that's the place of your greatest growth. I mean, could you imagine what would happen if you just stepped out of the boat? Right? Just stepped out of the boat. Now, some of you aren't Bible people. That's totally cool. I respect that. But there's this story, and it's a really cool story in the Bible. Jesus walking across the water. That's pretty awesome. And as he's walking across the water, his disciples see him walking across the water. And they're all like, oh my God, dude's walking across the water. That's amazing. And one of them said, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come out. And Jesus is like, it's me, bro. Come on out. And so Peter, like, I want you to picture this. There's a storm. It's a lake. Like, the safe place is in the boat. Right? That's the safe place. But Peter, he took his foot and he stepped out there. And I know some people say, oh yeah, but then he started sinking. But the only reason he started sinking is because he took his eyes off of Jesus. But at least he got out of the boat. That's right. Right? The other 11 disciples are sitting in the boat, sleeping. You know, wondering when their Netflix subscription is going to be renewed. Wondering when they're going to get better Wi-Fi in the middle of this lake. This is crappy Wi-Fi here. Why'd you bring us out here, right? You know, and here's one dude. He's like, I want to go where the action is. Right? So can I encourage you to get out of your boat in 2020? Is that too much for me to ask of you? Can I encourage you to step out of your comfort zone? Because if you like magic, if you like stuff happening. Now listen, I've got my comfort areas. I'm not just talking to you. You've got yours. I don't know what yours are. You don't know what mine are. But whatever they are, that's not where the magic happens. So that's number one. Take a step. Number two, the people who make the biggest income and have the biggest impact, you know what they do? They work a system. Now, some of you, I've watched you, I've hung around you. You'll try this for a little bit, and then you'll try that for a little bit. It's kind of like you treat business like it's going to a new bar. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, this is cool. All these cocktails I've never heard of before. This is the best. I'm going to have this. Can I try this one? And then you're like, oh, this is the best. This is the best drink I've ever had. But then someone over here has this cocktail. And so you're like, oh, I'm going to try this one. This one. This one. This is the best. And out comes the phone. Hashtag best cocktail ever. Do you know what I mean? And then 2 seconds later, someone else has another cocktail. And you're, oh my God, he's got the cocktail. Can I have your cocktail? And because I've known some of you for a long time. I've watched you. And you're just like that hamster. I say this with love. I say it with respect. I'm honoring you tonight by telling you from the heart, you're going to be like that hamster 5 years from now. You're going to be like that hamster 10 years from now if you keep running from this thing to that thing, to that thing, to this thing, to that person, to this person, to that person, to this person. You will not make traction. Do you know, I joined the Certified Coaches Federation 12 years ago. 12 years ago. And I was a trainer. At that time, we had trained 1,000 people around the world as certified life coaches. 12 years later, we've trained 15,000. And I've personally been responsible for 6,000 of those. So I'm only telling you that because I saw a system. There wasn't anything special about it. I kind of joke with the founder that I was nothing and he was nothing. We were both nothing, but we were just smart enough to believe in each other. But I didn't go try this little cocktail and then this little cocktail. Like some of you, it's like there's so many coaches and so many speakers and so many distractions that you're like that hamster just in the wheel. And some of you need to lock into a system and start kicking ass. All right, that was a great point, Abe. Thank you very much. Hey, no problem. That's what I'm here for. How many of you still love me tonight? You're like, dude, I never started loving you, so I can honestly answer. No, but I'm speaking to you in love here tonight. You gotta work a system. You want income and impact. You don't get to be a quitter if you want to crush it. Right? Because quitting's for quitters. And you're not a quitter. You're a successful person. You're a follow-through person. Success is not a random act. Did you know that? Oh my God, I don't know how I became successful. It doesn't work that way. I wish it did. Wouldn't it be cool? You could just buy a Cracker Jack box. I wonder what I'm going to get today. Right? You know what? There's a predictable and powerful set of circumstances and opportunities that drive success within your life. That's why you need to work a system. The number 3 biggest impact in income is you got to get some what? Skills. You got to skill up, right? Skill up, and you are skilled. Can you look at your neighbor and say, dang it, baby, you are skilled. We've all got skills, don't we? Skills, skills, skills. But no matter how much skills you have, how many of you agree, we always need to add more. Now, when I said more, like some of you are thinking, oh my God, I got to go and do all kinds of other skills. No. Do you know what I found? I learned a secret when I worked in a camera store. Now, this was years ago. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I was the Alberta general manager for a company that was doing about $60 million in business. I had about 200 employees across the province, and it was a company that sold professional videography and photography equipment. And I don't know anything about cameras, by the way. If you said to me, like, explain aperture, I have no idea what it is, right? Is that like a chocolate? Is it white chocolate? Is it dark? I'm not sure. Sounds like an appetizer. I don't know. Like, what is it? And but the owner hired me because the business was tanking, and he knew that I was a turnaround specialist. He heard that. And he thought, well, I'm going to shut it down anyway, so we'll give it to this guy who doesn't know anything about photography. We don't need another photographer. They had 200 photography experts. They had 200 people who, oh my God, look at this lens. Oh, look at this. Like these guys were like the geeking out over the gear, right? And the customers would come in, and they're geeking out over their gear, and they wouldn't even notice that somebody wanted to buy a $25,000 lens off them, because they were so enthralled. Oh, wow, look at this camera. Do you know this thing has an ISO of like, I don't know what they're even talking about, right? Like, it's weird, man. It's weird what they're talking about. And I'm like refocusing on this thing called the customer. And what I discovered is that the worst photographers were making the most money, and the best photographers were broke. I had a guy in my office, and they would always come to me because I had the power to give them a discount, talking about discounts, right? So these guys would come in my office, right? Hey, you're buying a $60,000 lens. I'd want a discount too. And I had a guy in my office. He had won the Governor General of Canada award for his photography. Like, I don't know if you know how awards work. I mean, I've gotten lots of awards. But like in Canada, it doesn't get any higher than the governor, like that's like the Queen, right? Here's an award for his photography. And he was broke, he was bankrupt, his life was falling apart, and he was begging me for a discount on this lens so that he could get this job that he was trying to do. On the other hand, I saw these other photographers who were doing worse than I could on my iPhone, and they're making 6 figures. And what was the difference? I mean, it was just one simple thing. It was 5 critical skills. Now, you don't need to learn a million skills, but I would encourage you to take out your phone, because those are the 5 skills you need to learn if you want to make money and if you want to have impact. You got to learn marketing. You got to learn social media. You got to learn sales. You got to learn how to persuade people, and you got to learn how to do what Joy did tonight and what Amy did tonight. And how many know they did a great job, didn't they? Right? So some of you are stuck because you're trying to learn all these other skills. Nobody cares about those other skills, right? Because these are the skills that are going to make you money. And these are the skills that are going to leverage your impact. So be good at your thing, whatever your thing might be, but be really good at these things, because that's what's going to drive results. And I saw all these photographers like trying to be really good at photography. Well, what if you're the best photographer in the world, but no one's ever heard your name? Right? What if you're the best photographer in the world, but you don't know how to sign a deal? You don't know how to ask for the sale. You don't know how to be persuasive. You don't know how to negotiate, because that's the thing that separates the successful from the unsuccessful. So get some skills. Number 4, biggest impact in income is seek support. How many of you would agree support is important? Yes. Now, what does support look like when it comes to this area? Well, here it is. Successful people know 2 things. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but here's the first thing successful people know. Someone's already done it. Whatever it is you're trying to do, hate to break it to you, you're not the first one. Do you know what I mean? Like, Apple did not invent the smartphone. Did you know that? Yep. And I know we all love to worship at the altar of Apple and all, they're so creative. No, they're not creative at all. What they are is innovative. See, a creator is somebody who makes something new, but an innovator takes something that's already built, and what do? They make it better. And that's what Steve Jobs did. He just did it better than everyone else did. And, actually the smartphone was probably invented in Canada. BlackBerry. Did you know that? Yeah. It's hard to believe, right? Here, Canadian, eh? Do you know what I mean? We have more than just snow here. So successful people know two things. Someone's already done it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to learn from those who have already what? Now, can I just say this? There are so many, it almost drives me crazy how many coaches and people are out there and they advertise so much. Can I just use the word bullshit?
Yeah.
Oh, follow me because I'll teach you how to make money. And I know some of them can't even pay their rent because I know them personally. Can I just encourage you, if you're going to follow somebody, if you're going to partner with somebody, to go and open up the hood. Like how many of you would spend, like I have an Audi Q5, it's not the best car in the world, but let's just say it costs more money than some people's houses do, okay? Now, it's a very small house, okay? Nonetheless, a house it is. And so, am I going to just go buy that thing without making sure that it can actually deliver what it says? I mean, and I just watch this and it drives me crazy because here's the thing, you reproduce what you are. So if you are stuck or unsuccessful or failing in business, that is what you'll reproduce into somebody who you're coaching. That was a harsh word, but it's true, isn't it? Because you reproduce what you are. I mean, I have 3 kids. And they all look like me, like I didn't have to say to my wife, like, that kid is looking like really weird. Do you know what I mean? Why? Because who I am got reproduced. Jasmine's here. You look at her. You'll see me in her. Believe me, you'll see me in her. Right? Because you reproduce what you are. I want to encourage you to follow someone, partner with someone who's actually been there, who's actually done it, who's actually not only had success but had some failure, but come out the other side and is stronger before than they ever were. All right, I'm not going to say anything else about that. Biggest impact in income. Number 5, be steadfast. Why do we need to be steadfast? What do you think? Storms will come, right? Recessions will come. Hard times will come. Difficulties will come. And you've got to have the ability to stick it out. Art, you're a successful business guy. How many times did you need to do that?
A lot.
Right? Why? Because the world does not owe you success.
That's right.
Like the world owes you nothing. It was here first. Do you know what I mean? Like it was here first. So you kind of owe it. And so what does that mean? That means that success, it's not something that just happens because you're pretty. And yes, you are pretty. And it's not something that happens because you're handsome. And yes, you are handsome. It's not something that you get because you can sing good in the shower. Success is something that happens when you are steadfast. This kind of links back to what I was talking about with systems. Like some of us need to find a system and a support mechanism, and then we need to be steadfast in it. Right? Rather than going from one cocktail bar to the next. Can I just give you number 6? How do you get impact? How do you get income? I'm going to say number 6. This one here is my favorite. Not really, but it has to be said. Otherwise, I'm not being honest. Sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Now, what is sacrifice? What do you think? When I think about my life, right? I think, there was a time in my life, and some of you have heard my story, I won't tell it all, but I mean, I had everything. By the time I was in my early 30s, very successful career, and then I made some really stupid choices. Can y'all say stupid? Can y'all point at me and say dumbass? Do you know what I mean? Like that was me, and so I lost everything. Everything. Crashed, burned. I was in such a place of depression that I attempted suicide. I failed at that. And I thought, man, you really are a loser, because only losers want to kill themselves. And you even failed at that. That's what I was telling myself at the time. And I think about, where I was then to where I am today. And I wish I could tell you that all of my growth and personal, professional development came without a cost. Like it was great. I met this guy. And he was like this really cool mentor dude, and he just poured a bunch of stuff into me, and it was awesome. And I did meet some of those mentor dudes, and it was all great. But can I just say something, that nothing in your life that's worth anything comes for free?
That's right.
Can I say that again? Because that was a really good point, Brown. Hey, thank you very much. Hashtag that. Nothing that's good in your life, nothing that's valuable, will come to you for free. And I'll give you an example. I mean, it's interesting because I have clients. So what do I do for a living? I'm an executive coach. I travel the world. I talk to groups like this. I work with people on building their business. I have associates or friends or acquaintances in my life who have hung around me, and they have been to events like this, and yet they haven't made any money. On the other hand, I have clients who have purchased my services, and they've made millions of dollars. Now, what's the difference? Like, it actually, probably the friend type people get even more access than the pay people. But what's the difference? What do you think the difference is?
When you pay a lot, you pay attention.
Yeah, it's right there. There's something about you paying. And not because the coach is like, oh my God, if you don't pay, I can't pay my rent. I know some coaches like that. It's not me. I tell people, I'll be fine. I'll still drive a nice car. I'll still live in a nice house. I don't need you as my client. You need me as your coach. And you need to pay, not because I need the money, but when you pay, do you know what happens? There's a transaction that gets released in your life. You then summon your best self. Have you ever noticed when you get something for free, do you value it? I mean, do you really value it? You're kind of like, like somebody gave me this bag of, they're plantains. Is that what they're called? Plantains? What is that? It's plantains, that bag of stuff. It's on the counter. Yeah, it's called a plantain. And I don't even know what it was. I'm in his office the other day, and he's like, oh yeah, you can have a bag. And I wasn't even asking for a bag. You know what I mean? He gave me a bag, and I took it home, and it sat on the counter. I tried to pawn it off on my wife, and she didn't take it. She's like, oh, we have these in the Philippines. I eat those all the time, and I tried to give it to my 20-year-old son. I mean, a 20-year-old son, he wouldn't even take it, right? I didn't value it. Why? Because somebody just gave it to me for free, right? And that doesn't mean I'm not grateful. It just means that, I didn't pay for it, so there was no sacrifice. There was no skin in the what? Game. You're in this game. You're in this thing called life. And some of you are trying to cheap out on your own development. And you're wondering why you're that hamster. Do you know that in the 12, 13 years since my crash to this day, I sat down and added up how much money I've spent on my education in the last 12, 13 years. How much money I spent on, getting 2 master's degrees, one, U of C, another university in the U.S., obviously one certification after another. I still, in spite of having a very successful coaching business, I pay a coach every month to coach me. And I added it all up, and it was like $300,000. Wow. Joy was talking about putting somebody through medical school. And every year, what do? I look to spend more money. Why? Because I know that where my heart goes is where my money goes. Do you understand what I mean? Like when I take my money and I invest in something, what happens is there's this transaction that gets released in my life. So why am I saying this? Is because some of us, we need to have the hamster syndrome kind of broken in our life. So let me ask you a question. If you had an opportunity to have this in your life, in one package that could essentially take your vision and your dreams and your business from where it is right now to where you want it to be, wouldn't that be worth it? Like, you kind of got 2 choices. You're like, can you believe it? It's already March pretty much here. Isn't it crazy? 2020. March, man. March Madness. Do you know what I mean? Like the year is going. And some of us will be like that hamster but you could also step into something that could change your whole reality. And that is what we call this Healthy, Wealth, and Wise coaching program. This program can shift your reality. This program can change your life. This program can give you everything that you need for your personal and professional development. But like all of the things that we've talked about, it takes that investment for you to do what we've said. The first thing is you've got to take a step. The second thing you've got to do is you've got to work a system. The third thing you've got to do is you've got to get some, remember, skills, right? The fourth thing you have to do is you've got to seek support. So you need a coach. And the fifth thing you got to do is you got to be steadfast. And number 6, if you're ready for it, I would encourage you, sacrifice, not for your king and your country, but for yourself. Because there's no greater investment that you can make than an investment in your own development. And you know, Joy mentioned that she is a coach, and she definitely is a coach. And I would encourage you to invest in her. Not me. You know, invest in her. She's awesome. We have other coaches in this room. How many, we've got Diane here, she's a coach. We've got these 2 guys. You know, actually one of them's a girl. Hard to believe. That's right, you know. And then we have other business owners here in the room, lots of people who can help you. Amy has a marketing company, right? So don't sit there and cheap out on yourself and say, well, I can get where I need to go without that investment. But can I just encourage you to really invest in yourself in the way that resonates?